The Miami Heat last season surprised everyone, as many people expected them to be a low playoff seed at best. But they defied everyone, and they finished as the 5th seed in the East, and they would rally themselves all the way to the NBA Finals. This year, people thought they could ride that wave of success into the 2021 NBA season. But right now, the Heat are really not riding a wave of success and are more like stuck in a whirlpool of mediocrity. And as of the recording of this video, they sit 12th in the Eastern Conference. And today, I wanted to talk about this team and the Heat and the issues with them and if they can turn things around this year. But before we do get started, if you guys enjoyed, make sure you hit that like button, as it really helps out the channel and it shows your support for this content. Also, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos, and we are also on the road to 500 subscribers, and it would mean a lot to me if we could reach that goal, as these videos take a lot of hard work and time to make. And if you guys want to see me react to my first 2 videos ever as a special, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos and so we can get that special. But anyways, with that being said, let's get started. And I want to start out by talking about the Heat's roster, and let's open up with Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler is very clearly their best player. I mean, no disrespect to Bam Adebayo, who is, spoiler, the next player we'll talk about. But going on with Jimmy Butler, I think we all know how good of a player he is. As an individual player, he's pretty good, as he's a good slasher at the slashing to the rim. He's a good playmaker, and he's a very good defensive player. Not only that, but he also brings a lot of off-court, values, as he's a really good leader and really helped the Miami Heat's culture. This past season, he's averaging so far this season, he's averaging 18 points per game, 6.5 assists per game, and 7 rebounds per game, shooting 44% from the field. Next up, as I said before, is Bam Adebayo, as you guys can tell from the screen also. And this year, he really kind of has taken another leap in his game. The guy's a pretty good finisher and is a pretty decent scorer. He's also a really good playmaker and rebounder, and he's also a really good defensive player, as the guy can guard basically any position on the court, 1 through 5. And so far this year, he's averaging 20 points per game and is also averaging 5 assists per game and 9 rebounds per game, shooting 58% from the field. Next is Tyler Herro, and Tyler Herro, he hasn't had an amazing start to the season, but he's still a pretty alright player. Now, the guy, he was switched to point guard at the beginning of this year, which really isn't his position, but they did put him back to the bench unit, I believe, and is now back to playing shooting guard, which is his natural position. But this year, he is averaging 17 points per game, 4 assists per game, and 6 rebounds per game, shooting 45% from the field. Goran Dragic is the next player I want to talk about, and Goran Dragic, he has missed some games, and the guy is still a pretty good player though when he's healthy, as the guy is really just a good offensive guard who can score the ball pretty well. He's also a good shooter, and he's also a good playmaker too. And so far, he is averaging 14 points per game, 5 assists per game, shooting 46% from the field and 36% from 3. Duncan Robinson is the next player I want to talk about, and he is a really good 3-point shooter. I mean, the guy's role on the team is simple, and he really doesn't, he really just, provides shooting for this team. And I mean, even though that is basically, what he provides, I mean, he's still very good at it, and he's a very valuable player to this team, as he's averaging just 13 points per game, but he is shooting 40% from 3. Next up, I want to talk about Kendrick Nunn, and Kendrick Nunn, he's a pretty good offensive guard, I guess. I mean, that's basically he's just a good offensive guard, I guess. That's kind of all I have to say for him. So far, he is averaging 13 points per game and 2 assists per game, along with shooting 48.5% from the field. Kelly Olynyk is the next player I want to talk about. And Kelly Olynyk, he's not anything crazy special, and he's not the most exciting player in the world, but he is a pretty good stretch big, and so far he is averaging 10 points per game and 6 rebounds per game, shooting 34.5% from 3, but I do expect that to increase as the guy can space out the floor. I mean, that's basically what he does. And the final player I want to talk about is Avery Bradley, and he's a pretty good 3-and-D guard who's so far averaging 8.5 points per game, shooting 47% from the field and 42% from 3. Now, the Miami Heat have a pretty decent roster. I mean, we know this team made the finals this year. However, not only that, but they also got the best coach in the league, in my opinion, in Eric Spoelstra. The guy is good at X's and O's and stuff like that. He's also a good leader, and the guy is also good at attacking, other teams' weaknesses. So we really saw that in the playoffs with the Bucks, forming that classic wall strategy that the Raptors used. Not only that, but the guy shot a ton of threes, and the Bucks were bad at defending the three ball. Plus, in the Celtics series, he basically picked on Kemba Walker, since while he isn't a terrible liability on defense, he's not exactly great. So yeah, there's that. Now, they did lose Jay Crowder in the offseason, which really did hurt the team a lot, since the guy really just fit, I guess that kind of, he bring toughness to the team. Not only that, but the guy was a very good 3-and-D role player, and they also did lose Myers Leonard for the season, which really sucks, since Myers Leonard, he's good at doing like traditional big man stuff, and he's just a solid all-around big man. Derrick Jones Jr. was also pretty, it was also a decently big loss too, as while the guy is far from the best player, the guy is a pretty good defensive player, along with being a really good finisher. So losing those players definitely did hurt the team. But even then, they're still pretty good. They still got Jimmy and Bam, plus they also got good supporting players around them, especially guys that, help the offense a lot, as they aren't good shooters, but they got a lot of good shooters around them. Now, some issues with this team is, first off, we can bring up the fact that they had a short offseason, and I do feel like it did probably affect some teams in some form, I guess. It probably did affect them a little bit. But even then, I mean, if we take a look at the Los Angeles Lakers, I'm pretty sure they had the same days, the offseason length was the same days as the Miami Heat, and they look fine. But I mean, even then, fatigue is a thing, so we can say that is a valid, reason. Now, Jimmy Butler, though, I mean, if you ask me, one of the biggest issues, maybe the biggest issue this season, was the fact that Jimmy Butler did miss quite a bit of games so far this year due to the virus, I believe. And that really doesn't, and I believe he also had that ankle injury against the Pelicans, and that really does not help them at all, and it does not make their team better at all, okay? I mean, the guy is their best player, so I shouldn't really have to explain why losing him hurts. Not only that, but Tyler Hero hasn't been, out of this world. The guy hasn't been shooting well from 3, plus the guy was played out of position, but I will not say he was horrible. Plus, Goran Dragic has also dealt with injuries too, and he's, he provides veteran leadership. He's also a good, scoring option, which the Miami Heat really were missing without Goran Dragic and Jimmy Butler. I mean, even though Bam Adebayo has taken a step in terms of scoring and the offensive department, it's not like he's an absolutely awesome scorer. And if you ask me, really the biggest problems with the Heat, you could say, is the fact that injuries and probably fatigue. And you could also bring up the fact that, they did perform really well in the bubble, and because of that, the pressure might have reached them a little bit. Plus, our expectations were just so high, and because of that, this, they're right now, the fact that they're 12th in the East, it's really standing out. Now, even with that being said, they have started to pick things up a little bit, but Miami could still make a big splash at the deadline. I mean, Pat Riley, the guy, he's just a really smart guy. I mean, how else do I put it? Pat Riley, I mean, the guy just is constantly making moves, and he's just a really, how do I put it, clever guy. And I mean, I would not be surprised if the Heat made a splash at the deadline, as maybe they think, hey, there's ways we can improve, and even though if we do start to pick things back up, why not improve the team? Now, I could see them going after guys like Bradley Beal, who I did a video on the Washington Wizards, so go ahead and check that in the card above. They could also go after someone like Victor Oladipo, as he has expressed interest going there. They should also maybe look to improve the power forward spot, as that is by far their weakest position. And maybe they think, hey, you know what, even if it's just a role player, let's get a power forward at the deadline. Now, in some trades I did come up with, one I did post at the Washington video, is the Miami gets Bradley Beal and Moritz Wagner. Washington gets Andre Iguodala, Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, and Kelly Olynyk. I don't know if I said Kelly Olynyk before, but Tyler Hero, Kelly Olynyk, Kendrick Nunn, Andre Iguodala, and 2 first-round picks. Now, this trade to me would actually not be, I'll go over this like briefly since I went over this in the Washington video, but if you ask me, I don't think this is a terrible trade for both sides. Miami, they get an amazing score, and Bradley Beal will not have to do as much as he has Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, plus more guys around them, even if they do end up losing some key players in this trade. Plus, they also get Moritz Wagner, who is a pretty decent, rotational guy. The Wizards, really, they get Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn along with 2 first-round picks in this trade, which can really help them, just get a nice fresh start and, rebuild. Another trade I did come up with is Victor Oladipo goes to the Miami Heat. The Houston Rockets get Andre Iguodala, Kendrick Nunn, a 2022 second, and a 2024 first round pick. And if you ask me, I guess it's a fine trade. Maybe I might make some adjustments to this. Maybe the Rockets do want Tyler Hero, so maybe you do also add Tyler Hero in this trade. But the Rockets, they get Kendrick Nunn plus some draft picks. And the Heat, they get Victor Oladipo, who does add another ball handler to the team. Not only that, but the guy can score the ball really well. He's also a pretty good shooter, and he's also a good defensive player. And the final trade I came up with is the Miami Heat get LaMarcus Aldridge and Lonnie Walker, while the Spurs get Kelly Olynyk, Kendrick Nunn, Andre Iguodala, and a 2024 first. Now, LaMarcus Aldridge is aging and isn't the same Portland, the prime LaMarcus Aldridge, but he's still a pretty good player. And I wouldn't be surprised if they decide to move Bam to power forward, because LaMarcus Aldridge, he's more of a 5 in the modern NBA, but LaMarcus Aldridge is a pretty good player. He can space out the floor, can rebound pretty well, and can also do traditional big stuff. The Spurs, they would get Kendrick Nunn along with the 2024 first, which is really the big parts in this, and if they do want to start a rebuild, this, I guess, would be a fine start. But now, the final question I want to ask and briefly go over before this video does wrap up is, can the Miami Heat bounce back? And to me, that's an obvious answer. They absolutely can. They have all the pieces there to bounce back. They still have like a good portion of last year's team, and if you ask me, that is easily good enough to still save their season. And maybe, being realistic, I don't think they will get a top 2 seed, but maybe they can get something like a 4 or 5 seed and finish somewhere where, like in the 4 to 5, 4 to 6 range, maybe, like how they did last year. But that will wrap up today's video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you hit that like button, as it really helps out the channel and it shows your support for this content. Subscribe if you guys are new and enjoy the videos on this channel, as I am trying to reach 1,000 subscribers, and it would mean a lot to me. Well, no, not 1,500 subscribers, and it would mean a lot to me if we could reach that goal. These videos take a lot of hard work and time to make, and as a special, I will react to my first 2 videos ever. So if you guys want to see that and enjoy the content on here, make sure to subscribe. But with that being said, I'm out, you guys.